I'm assuming that you have all watched tutorials number 31 and 32, so we're just going to dig right into this today. Are you ready? Great. Here we go. First, let's review the difference between simple coloring type 1 and type 2. After connecting a network of conjugate pairs, with a type 1, any uncolored candidate that can see two candidates of opposite colors can be eliminated as false. And with a type 2, if any two candidates of the same color can see each other, then all the candidates of that color must be false, and all the candidates of the other color must be true. We proved these two statements in videos 31 and 32, so if you have any doubt about their truth or validity, please go back and watch those two tutorials. Now, just so you know, some people call type 1 a color trap because a candidate becomes trapped by two polar opposites, which proves that it is false and can therefore be eliminated. And some people call type 2 a color wrap because one of the colors in the network of conjugate pairs wraps around on itself, proving that all the candidates of that color are false, and thus proving that all the candidates of the other color are true. Personally, I prefer type 1 and type 2, so we'll stick with that, okay? So here in this puzzle, let's take a look at candidate 4 and let's light them up. There are all the candidate 4s. So what we're going to do is we're going to use two colors, blue and yellow, to denote and connect as many conjugate pairs as we can, creating a network. A conjugate pair occurs when there are only two remaining instances of a particular candidate within a house, i.e. a row, column, or block. There must be one candidate of each color in each conjugate pair, and you must follow this rule to a T or you will have lots of errors. And you must exhaust all possibilities or you will not get the full benefit of this technique. Now, when this is done correctly, either all the yellow ones will be true and all the blue ones will be false, or all the blue ones will be true and all the yellow ones will be false. Now remember, you can start on any candidate and you can start with either color as long as you follow the rules. So let's start up here in row 1 and color that candidate for blue. And as you can see, there is no conjugate pair in row 1. But there is a conjugate pair here in block 2 and another one in column 4. And they both have to be yellow because they can see the blue one. Now we look in row 3 and there's a conjugate pair here. And in column 6 there's a conjugate pair to that one. And in row 6 there is a conjugate pair to that one. So there's your network, and as you can see, there is no uncolored candidate 4 that can see both a blue one and a yellow one. So this turns out to be an unproductive network. And also notice that there is a conjugate pair in column 1 from this 4 to that 4, but they are not connected to our first network of blue and yellow 4s with a conjugate pair. So those two 4s in column 1 are a separate entity. All right, so now let's get rid of that. And now let's take a look at candidate 3 in this same puzzle. There are all the candidate 3s. And you see a lot of the same ones are lit up because we have a lot of bi-value cells with 4 and 3. But let's start on this 3 up here in row 1 again, and there is no conjugate pair in row 1, but we've got a conjugate pair here and here. We've got a conjugate pair there, and in row 4 there's a conjugate pair, okay? Now down column 7 there's another conjugate pair, and that has to be yellow. Now in block 5 we have a conjugate pair to that 3, and then a conjugate pair over to this 3 in row 6. Then in block 4 we've got one over here to this 3, and in column 3 we've got one down to this 3. And I think that's it. So there's your network, and now down in row 9, we have a blue 3 and a yellow 3, and there is not a conjugate pair between them, but they turned blue and yellow by virtue of the conjugate pairs in column 3 and in column 7. So that means any candidate 3 that can see both the blue one and the yellow one in row 9 must be false, and there are 3 of them. We've got one here, here, and here, and they can all be eliminated as false. Okay, let's go to the next one. Now here in this puzzle, let's take a look at candidate 4 and let's light them up. And this time, let's start with yellow, and we'll start on this candidate 4 right here. Now there is no conjugate pair in row 3, but there is one up here in block 2, and there's one in column 4. Okay? So coming off of this one in row 1 down to row 9, there's a conjugate pair in column 5. And then we've got a conjugate pair in block 5, so that has to be yellow. And another conjugate pair in column 6, so that has to be blue. Then we have another one in row 7, that has to be yellow. Another one in row 6, that has to be yellow. And another one in column 8, that has to be blue. And notice over here in column 1, we have a conjugate pair from that 4 to that 4, and then from that 4 to that 4. So that is a separate network. They are not connected to our blue and yellow network, so you just have to disregard those. So there's our network, and as you can see, there are 3 candidate 4s that can see both a blue one and a yellow one. And there's one here, and one here. These 2 4s in row 3 can see the blue one and the yellow one in the same row, and then this same 4 and the one just above it can see the yellow one in column 9 and the blue one in block 3. So they are all false. All right, let's go to the next example. All right, this time let's look at candidate 9, and let's again start with yellow, and we'll start right here on this 9, and there are 3 conjugate pairs coming off of that 9. There's one here in block 1, there's one in row 3, and there's one in column 1. Then we have another conjugate pair in column 2, or you could look at this one over here. It's the same thing. This one's got to be yellow because it can see both of those blue ones. Then we've got one in row 6, and we've got one in column 4. And this time we've got 2 candidate 9s that can see both a blue one and a yellow one, and they are right here and here. Both of those red 9s can see the blue one in column 5 and the yellow one in block 8. So they are both false. All right, next. All right, let's take a look at candidate 8, and boy, there are a lot of conjugate pairs in this puzzle. So let's start up in row 1, and we'll color this one blue. And then there are 2 coming off of that. They both have to be yellow, one in row 1 and one in column 4. Then this one can see both those yellow ones, so that has to be blue. There's a conjugate pair in row 4 over here. That has to be yellow, then blue, yellow, blue, and yellow, and blue. Let's go back to row 2. This yellow 8 can see this one down here in row 9, so that's a conjugate pair in column 7. And then we've got one over here in row 9, and that has to be yellow. And in column 3, we've got a yellow one here, and we've got a blue one there. And then in row 5, we've got a blue one here. And last but not least, we've got one in block 9. That has to be yellow. So there are only 2 candidate 8s that are not colored, and they are here, and they can both be eliminated as false because they can each see a blue one and a yellow one. And it doesn't matter how many blue ones and yellow ones they see. All it takes is one blue one and one yellow one, and then you will know that that candidate has to be false because either the blue one is true or the yellow one is true. So in this puzzle, we can eliminate that candidate 8 and that candidate 8. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, here on candidate 6, it looks like we have 6 conjugate pairs. Let's start with yellow this time, and we'll start on this 6 right here, and we've got 2 coming off of that, one here in the block and one in the column. Then we've got one coming off of this in the row. Then off of this one in column 9, we've got one down here in row 9. That has to be yellow, and then blue, and another blue one in block 9, and I think that's it. And there are 2 candidate 6s that can see both a blue one and a yellow one, and they are right here and here. They can each see this yellow one in block 5, and they can each see this blue one down here in row 9. So they are both false. All right, let's do one more type 1, and then we'll move to type 2. All right, here in this puzzle on candidate 3, once again, we have a lot of conjugate pairs. So let's start up in row 1, and we'll color this one blue. And we've got no conjugate pair in row 1, but there's one here in the block and here in the column. Then off of this yellow one, we've got a blue one over here. And then off of this yellow one, we've got a blue one here. And off of this yellow one, we've got a blue one down here, then yellow, blue, and yellow. And in row 4, we've got a blue one here. Then down here in column 5, we've got yellow, blue, yellow. And then up in column 8, we've got another yellow one up here. And finally, we've got another yellow one in row 6. And if you look carefully, you will find that there are 5 candidate 3s that can see both a blue one and a yellow one. Up here in row 1, this 3 can see the blue one in row 1 and the yellow one in row 1, and it can see the yellow one in block 1. And in row 2, we've got 2 candidate 3s that can see both this yellow one and the blue one in the same block. And then in row 5, we've got one here that can see the blue one in column 9 and the yellow one in block 6. You can also see the yellow one down here in column 9. But like I said, you only need one blue one and one yellow one to get the elimination. And then lastly, we have a 3 over here in column 3 that can see the blue one and the yellow one in column 3. So those 5 3s can all be eliminated as false. Okay, so I think that's enough of these. Let's move on to type 2. Now with a type 2, we start out the same way, connecting as many conjugate pairs as we can until we reach a dead end. So here let's take a look at candidate 7. And there are a bunch of conjugate pairs, so let's start right here on this one. And we've got a conjugate pair there, one there, and then we've got 2 coming off of that blue one, so they both have to be yellow. All right? Then that's a dead end. So now let's go back to that first one, and we have a conjugate pair in column 1 that has to be yellow, then blue, then yellow. And in row 6, we've got another yellow one. And is that it? That looks like all of them. So now we can see we have 2 yellow ones in column 5 that can see each other and 2 yellow ones in block 5 that can see each other. So we know those are false because there can't be 2 7s in either one of those houses. So notice that there are only 3 blue ones, but there are 6 yellow ones. So you could eliminate the yellow ones one at a time like that. Okay? And then enter the blue ones one at a time. But let's go back. If you remember in video number 32, I told you it's more efficient to just enter the true ones. And in this case, it's doubly efficient. With just 3 moves, you eliminate all 6 of those yellow false candidate 7s. So not only do you save time not having to eliminate 6 false candidate 7s, but you only have to make 3 moves and enter those 3 blue 7s as the solutions to those cells, and then the puzzle will be solved. As you can see, it's just singles from here on out. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, here let's take a look at candidate 1, and there they are. Let's start up in row 2. We've got a conjugate pair over there. Then we've got a conjugate pair in that block, and then down the column. Now, every time you add a candidate, you have to check the other 2 houses to see where the next conjugate pairs might be, because you don't want to miss one. So we came down the column here, so now we want to check the row and the block, and here's one in the block and one in the row, and they both have to be blue because they see the yellow one. Now let's keep going. Off of this blue one, we have a yellow one and a blue one, and we have another blue one up here, then yellow, and then blue. And now we can see that there are 2 blue candidate 1s in column 5. So here in this puzzle, it is the blue ones that are false and the yellow ones are true. And once again, we've got 4 yellow ones and we've got 7 blue ones. And all you have to do is enter those 4 yellow ones and the blue ones all disappear and the puzzle is solved, just like before. Okay? It's just all singles. So we don't have to do this every time. I'll do it here, and then the next couple we won't bother. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, here in this puzzle, let's take a look at candidate 6, and there they are, and I want to show you something. Let's start on this 6 right here, and we've got 3 conjugate pairs coming off of that. One in the column, one in the block, and one in the row. But then they are all dead ends. You can't go any farther with either one of those 3 yellow 6s, and there is no type 1 or no type 2 configuration. So let's get rid of that and let's start on another candidate 6. Let's start on this one up here in row 1. And now we've got 2 conjugate pairs coming off of that. One here in row 1 and one here in column 2. And they both have to be yellow. So let's follow up on this yellow one in row 1. We've got a blue one, and then a yellow one, and we've got a blue one down here. Then from this blue one, we've got a yellow one and a blue one. And from this blue one in row 2, we've got a yellow one and then a blue one. And down column 5, we have a blue one. Now we can already see that the blue ones are going to be false because we have 2 of them in column 6 and 2 of them in block 8. But let's finish this off. In block 7, we got another blue one here. And I think that's it. So because we know the yellow ones are true, we can just enter those 5 yellow 6s as the solutions to their cells, and that eliminates all the blue ones. And you can solve this puzzle easily, as you can see. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, here in this puzzle, let's take a look at candidate 8, and there they are. And so there are a lot of conjugate pairs in this puzzle. Now just remember that whenever you see an unusually large number of conjugate pairs on a given candidate, that should be your signal to look for simple coloring types 1 and 2, as well as all kinds of X chains, including turbofish, 2-string kites, and skyscrapers. Okay? So let's start up here in row 1 on this candidate 8, and there are 3 conjugate pairs coming off of that. We have 1 in the block, 1 in the row, and 1 down the column. So they all have to be yellow, and there's nothing on this yellow one here in block 2, so let's go over to block 3, and off of this yellow 8, we've got a blue one, and we've got another blue one, and we've got a yellow one and a blue one, and off of this blue one, we have a yellow one, and off of this blue one, we have a yellow one, and off of this yellow one, we have a blue one, and then a yellow one. And now we can already see that the yellow ones are going to be false because we have several of them seeing each other. So let's continue on down. In column 5, we've got a yellow one here, and in row 7, we've got a blue one and a yellow one. And I think that's it. Nope, there's one more in row 3. That has to be yellow. And you want to make sure you get them all. So there's your network, and those are all strong links. All those blue lines are strong links. That's why these coloring techniques are so powerful. There are no weak links. And so now we know that the yellow ones are false because we have several that can see each other in block 1, column 2, column 4, block 8, and in row 9. So now all we have to do is enter the blue colored 8s and the puzzle will be solved. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, this time let's take a look at candidate 3, and there they are. And up in row 1, if we color this one blue, we've got 3 conjugate pairs coming off of that blue 3. 1 in the block, 1 in the row, and 1 in the column, and they all have to be yellow. So now in row 2, we've got a conjugate pair there, another one here, another one there. In column 4, we've got another one there, block 5, another one there, column 5, another one there. And in column 8, we have another one there. And as you can easily see, there are 2 yellow 3s in row 5, so that means all the blue ones are true and all the yellow ones are false. So you just enter those blue candidate 3s into their cells and solve the rest of the puzzle, which 9 times out of 10 will be reduced to naked singles. All right, let's do one more. And last but not least, let's take a look at candidate 4 in this puzzle. And let's start up in row 1 like we usually do and color this one blue. And we have a conjugate pair in the block, and we've got a conjugate pair in the column, and they both have to be yellow. Then we have another one in row 2 that has to be blue. Then down in block 7, we've got another one here. In row 7, another one here. And in row 8, another one there. And then lastly, we have one in column 7, and that has to be blue. So as you can see, there are 2 blue 4s in block 3, and therefore they are false. So we know the 3 yellow ones are true, and all we have to do is enter those 3 yellow 4s into their cells, and they eliminate the blue ones, and the puzzle should be solved. Okay, that's going to do it for today, and I'll see you in tutorial number 33, which will be the first of 12 detailed lessons on AIC chains and loops, which will comprise the final chapters in this complete course in solving Sudoku puzzles. So I hope you will join me for all of that. Until then, be well and be happy.